The Toronto Raptors, despite a very valiant effort for about 26 minutes in this game, 27 minutes, do get blown out by the Memphis Grizzlies, a team that has already blown them out once this year. They were completely outmatched. They were completely outsized. They were completely outcompeted and, frankly, out executed, outshot. There's no area in this game in which you can really take away and say the Raptors beat the Grizzlies at this. They didn't beat them from three. They didn't beat them on the glass. They didn't really beat them anywhere. Now, of course, as these things go, when a game like this happens, people really, I would say weird people who have agendas, people who have a bias, people who have, can I say small minds without being too insulting, have to point the finger at something. And they're going to point the finger at the guy who went 4 for 18 tonight. And that's perfectly fair. You can definitely acknowledge that Scotty Barnes was not engaged in this game. Scotty Barnes, I've often said that a good litmus test or a good barometer for how engaged Scotty is in a game is usually his rebounds. And he had 3 rebounds today. Yesterday, we were talking about his finishing around the rim and how it hasn't been very good over the last week. And I mentioned that he had tweaked his ankle a couple times in 2 games. And of course, when you do that, you're going to lack a little bit of burst. You play up against a lot of size. We're going to do a lot of film breakdown today of just how Scotty struggled, just against what defense and how his offense effectively becomes a little bit too undynamic, too unpredictable when the pieces start to evaporate around him. And to his defense, there were a lot of pieces that had evaporated tonight. There were regularly, 3 rookie lineups, 4 rookie lineups. And I'm not Fred VanVleet. I'm not about to say, oh, the Raptors lost because they played a lot of youth, because some of that youth actually competed very, very hard. So I want to give the Raptors a big shout out on an evening where I can tell that their minds were definitely elsewhere. I mean, if you want to know where their minds were, I want you to ask yourself a couple questions before we even start this live. And hopefully, instead of getting into this shouting match, crash out, Scotty Barnes is a bum. No, Scotty Barnes is not a bum. Predictable thing that happens every single time the Raptors lose in a blowout and Scotty struggles. Let me ask you 2 questions that perhaps will set the mood for this live. Question number 1: do you care about this team? Do you care about the individual players on this team? If you found out that Kelly Olynyk was hurt, would you care? Would you, do you care that Chris Boucher is going through something? Do you care about these players as people at all? Or are they just fantasy, players on your screen? Okay. So if you answered yes, my second question to you is, how locked in were you on your phone today on Shams and Chris Haynes, trying to figure out who's going where when that Jimmy Butler deal broke? How locked in were you to this game? How locked in were you to what was happening on the screen? And how many of you had one eye on your phone trying to figure out if Kyle Anderson was in fact coming to Toronto? Who was going out? Is Chris Boucher traded? Why is he not on the bench? Give me a W if your mind, at least if you answered yes, or effectively were, if what I just said applies to you on both ends. Now, I want you to imagine that as much as you care about Kelly Olynyk or Chris Boucher or Bruce Brown or whoever, Immanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, the players on their team care a hell of a lot more, right? So Zigzag Puzzle saying W, a lot of W's, right? That's the whole point. The last year, if you remember, on the eve of the OG Anunoby trade, this is a connected team, right? They got beat by the Pistons. The Pistons, who, by the way, at the time were about to make NBA history on the losing streak, and people called it like the most embarrassing loss in Raptors history. Oh my God, the most embarrassing loss of the season. And it was in that game also that Scotty Barnes just wasn't there mentally. He just wasn't there. These are distractions. Now, there's different camps on this. You can say, you know what? Who cares? You should just play ball. You're being paid to play basketball. Screw it. Who cares if Chris Boucher is about to get traded? Who cares if, your teammates are about to get traded? Who cares if there's a lot of uncertainty? Different people react very differently to certain situations. And I've seen 3 trade deadlines in a row that Scotty Barnes does not react well to the trade deadline. It's a noticeable thing. And I've also noticed throughout the years, especially during his second year when he really struggled with the tendonitis, that when he doesn't have lift, he really sucks. He really, really struggles. when he doesn't have that burst lift. Because unlike what Jack Armstrong said about Scotty Barnes is more talented than Giannis Antetokounmpo or whatever, he's not. And he's not more athletic than those guys either. So when he starts to lose a little bit of that lift and burst, whereas most people might think, let me sit this one out, he's probably feeling like if I sit this one out, my team might get blown up by 60 and I'm going to feel really bad for them. Let me try to go play and let me just try to do the right stuff. So I thought that he played reasonable defense at times. He was really, really outmatched against Jaren Jackson physically. I don't think the Raptors had much of an answer for Ja Morant. And in fact, when you really think about what the Raptors do, just, in terms of their defensive scheme, the pressure and all that stuff, there's a couple players in the league that will never ever work against, and Ja Morant is one of them. Ja Morant can absolutely tear your pressure apart because he's that athletic, that bursty, and that dynamic as a scorer, and he lit the Raptors up tonight. And I think Jaren Jackson Jr. had a brilliant game. There were so many plays tonight where Scotty would try to drive at Jaren Jackson Jr., and there's Zach Edey right there. And, there's Marcus Smart coming in on the corner. And you're looking around at Scotty and you're like, okay, what do I want him to do here? What would I realistically want him to do here? And often the right pass is actually a Jonathan Mobo 3. And you can kind of understand why you don't want to over rely on Jonathan Mobo taking 7 or 8 threes in a game. And then you think, what's the second option that the Grizzlies are really giving us? It's a Davion Mitchell 3. And I'm like, that's not a really good option either. There's not a team in the league that plays 2 players as bad at shooting as Davion Mitchell and Jonathan Mobo in the same lineup. There's not one. There's no one team. That's not shade on Jonathan Mobo, who's one of my favorite young players in the league. Love him. But this is where you're at right now. If you're a Raptor fan looking for a glimmer of hope, let me tell you something. A really big part of why the Memphis Grizzlies are so good at development is Darko Rajakovic. He brought a lot of his culture and a lot of his philosophy and a lot of his methodology to them. And frankly, he was a really huge part of all the development that they sustained during his time. If you want to look at the vision for what the Raptors are trying to do, granted, you don't have that generational point guard athlete like Ja Morant. Who knows? You might acquire one in the draft this year. But this is the vision. Depth, playmaking, a team that plays together, a team that has youth that actually, you look at players like Gigi Jackson, even when you look at their third stringers, when you look at a player like Vince Williams, you look at a player like Santi Aldama, I'm telling you right now, the Grizzlies have like 12 players who would have started for you tonight. This is such a lopsided competition that had the Raptors fought their guts out tonight, this is going to be an 8-point loss. Had they not tried at all, this could have been a 60-point loss. So really, you fell somewhere in the middle. That's where I'm at right now. Let's take a look at what happened in this game. 138 to 107. This is one of the best offenses in the NBA. They employ a strategy, basically, where their starters don't really play a lot of minutes. And, it's controversial. Some people don't like it, but it really comes from their European assistant coach that they brought in. And it's worked over in Europe, and it's working here. They play with depth. They had 13 points off the bench from Brandon Clark. They had 17 points off the bench from Gigi Jackson, right? They had 12 points off the bench in 14 minutes from Scottie Pippen Jr. This is a team that is just wired to sustain. Even if Marcus Smart goes 0 for 6, he was a really huge plus defensively. Drew a charge on Scotty Barnes, was great in the helping in the gaps. He just really knows how to play. Jay Huff has been a bit of a revelation for them. Santi Aldama is one of my favorite young centers in the NBA. Like, this is a really good team. I haven't talked about a single starter yet. Luke Kennard did struggle, but they themselves didn't need him. Zach Edey was a behemoth in the paint. He was moving Kelly Olynyk around, Scotty Barnes around, literally anyone you put on him. Jonathan Mobo, you stood no chance. You're giving up 7-8 inches when you go Jonathan Mobo against Zach Edey. It's not normal. I mean, on the one hand, it is by necessity. And, you eventually turn the page and you try to go with Orlando Robinson in the second half. But, like, to be honest, under no circumstances, in no situation on planet Earth, is Jonathan Mobo, as great a defender as he is, at the point of attack and, as a shot blocker, a weak side shot blocker, his quick jump, he's just giving up like, it feels like 100 pounds. I know it's not 100 pounds, but it feels like a lot, okay? This is the process of learning, okay? Right now, if you're Jamal Shed, You just went up against really one of the greatest point guards in the NBA. You're going to learn some stuff from this. If you're Scotty Barnes, you went up against two former DPOYs with very little spacing and help, and you're going to have this film to go and study in the summer to figure out what you're going to do when they take away that two dribble left shoulder, turn over your left shoulder, turn around jumper. You're going to have counters, and it's going to help to have actual help around you. It's going to help to have an RJ Barrett who can draw some of that attention off of you. It's going to help to have an Immanuel Quickley spacing that opposing point guard so he can't help. It's going to help. And honestly, again, this is like, I mean, to anyone who plays chess, what the Raptors really did in this game was they walked into a game and two rooks just automatically were off the board. And one bishop fell in the first half. I mean, if you wanted to play Chris Boucher and you wanted to play really, really hard, I'm just saying, if the Raptors had said, come hell or high water, we want to win this game, let's go out and actually play, and Scotty Barnes is healthy, and he's actually hitting his shots and everything, all I'm telling you is this would have been an 8-point loss. You weren't winning this game. I got news for you. You're not winning this game. This is the second best team in the Western Conference. They're a really damn good team. They're a really damn good team. This blowout is not lying to you. They're a great team, okay? And they're at a different place right now. They had to go through their growing pains. You're going to have to go through yours, okay? You're playing rookies. You're playing young players that, frankly, are not physically developed, okay? You might not think that there's a huge gap between a G.G. Jackson and a Jakob Poeltl. And in terms of their eventual upside, there might not be a huge gap at all. In fact, I'd say Jakob might be a much better player, but he's not right now. He's not right now. And you know what? It's the same thing with Scotty Barnes and a fourth overall pick, another fourth overall pick in Jaren Jackson Jr. Right now, Jaren is stronger. He's just physical, man. He's physical. And to anyone saying, oh, Scotty can't stop Jaren Jackson, believe me, if he's fully dialed in, he can shut the shit out of that dude, man. He can shut him down. If you can shut down the offense for guys that Scotty has shut down in the past 2 years. I mean, we have seen Scotty shut down Steph Curry. We've seen Scotty shut down Kevin Durant on multiple plays in a row in the fourth quarter. We've seen Scotty Barnes do a great job on Nikola Jokic. If he's dialed in, we've seen Scotty Barnes hold, Giannis to 11 points. We've seen the Scotty Barnes defensive masterclasses over the past few years. So, I mean, the what have you done for me lately element of this fan base honestly makes me sick. It's true, man. The Raptors, from disregard the last two games, the Raptors were the best defense in the NBA for 10 straight games. They beat the Celtics. They beat the Hawks twice on the road. I remind you of that because I feel like some of you sound like that shit happened 5 years ago. No, it happened last month. Okay? These are the ebbs and flows of going through a rebuild. These are the ebbs and flows of going through a trade deadline with a super connected team. The more connected you are as a team to the particular teammates in question, and the Raptors, for all intents and purposes, because they are pretty, they're pretty guarded with their what's really happening stuff. They don't leak it out. They're not walking up to Scotty Barnes and saying, don't worry, Chris Boucher is not getting traded. Go out there and play. They're not doing that. This is not a team that likes to leak stuff. This is how they guard their secrets. This is why you generally never know what the Raptors are doing. And because they haven't come out and really said what's happening, everyone's kind of like, okay, we're a really bad team, right? And it's true, right? I don't know if you know this, but the Toronto Raptors currently are 16-35. That's not actually much worse than they were last year at this time. Just in case you need something, they had 18 wins going to the trade deadline last year, and they have 16 wins now. And tomorrow's trade deadline, I mean, this is like if you're rooting for the losses, if you're rooting for the tank, I got news for you. This is a productive result, okay? As much as the Raptors won, and yes, they doubled their win total. They walked into January. They walked into 2025 with 8 wins in January, from January 13th. January 13th to January 31st, the Raptors were the number 1 team in the NBA. Scotty Barnes won Eastern Conference Player of the Week. I mean, these feel like, okay, what have you done for me lately? I don't really care. Don't tell me about the Eastern Conference Player of the Week. Tell me about the 4 for 18. We're going to look at the 4 for 18. What I want y'all to realize is there aren't a lot of players in the league. There's like maybe 10 players in the league who can create something out of nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean like nothing at all. Like They like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander right now. He's not going to go 4 for 18 if he's in Scotty's position. Hell no. He would never. Right. So if you put this type of spacing around Shea, he might go 13 for 30, 13 for 32. We've seen so many players struggle. I don't think you understand. Tyrese Maxey is considered, a really great young player in the NBA. Do you see how much he struggles when he doesn't have Joel Embiid? Do you see how much he struggles when Paul George and Joel Embiid are out? He's still playing with Gershon Yabusele, Kyle Lowry. Yo, Kyle Lowry is a much better player than Davion Mitchell. He's still playing with Caleb Martin. You want to know the gap between Caleb Martin as an NBA player right now and Jonathan Mobo? Like, I don't think you realize that you really do employ some of the worst players in the NBA. You really do. That's why the tanking is possible. That's how you're losing. You lose these minutes, but unlike last year, where you were losing it with Malachi Flynn and Jalen McDaniels, now you're losing it with players who actually have a chance to stick, players who are developing. And for all the development, I am very, very happy with the Raptors' development this year. Let's take a look at the team stats for a sec here. I mean, first of all, Ja Morant blitzed 26 points in 25 minutes on 15 shots. Efficiency. Jaren Jackson Jr., 32 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 block in 28 minutes. Very easy. They are one of the fastest teams in the league. They play well. 41% from 3 for them, 52% from the field, 74% from the line. The Raptors, on the other hand, they shot below 40% from the field and 28.6% from 3. And that is in large part due to the fact that Ochai Agbaji was incredible off the bench. And Davion Mitchell was a plus off the bench. Do you know how hard it is? Ochai and Davion were +4 and +6 respectively in a game that their team lost by 31, which means that the minutes without them were so bad, it's almost unfathomable. Typically, when the team gets blown up by 31, you see like anyone who played more than 10 minutes is like a negative. The fact that those two played as well as they did is a huge credit to them. I think Davion Mitchell played really well. Jamal Shed had moments. He had really good moments. But unfortunately, he's on the other end of that plus minus. So he had a negative 37. A negative 37 in 30 minutes, 14 points, 4 assists, starting in place of Immanuel Quickley, who was out. Okay. Kelly Olynyk, 9.7 rebounds, starting in place of Jakob Poeltl, who was out. And Jakob Poeltl, 14 points, including some very great plays that we're definitely going to look at. He was a negative 18. He started in place of RJ Barrett, who was out. And Chris Boucher, the MPCD. Okay, cool. Left the game, I want to say midway through the second quarter. He did not come back. He was looking a little bit like, what's going on? Do I think that the Raptors kind of taking the foot off the gas a little bit coincided with something that might have happened with Chris? We'll see. When I open up Twitter, we'll see like what's up. But yeah, that was tough, man. Okay, just a little announcement here. We are going to be going live. So I was supposed to be on the panel on Friday. They asked me if I would come on tomorrow instead, and I said hell no. I got to do the show. I got to do the trade show for the Raptors because I expect something really big was going to happen for the Raptors. So we'll be doing the trade show. Now, y'all let me know. Should I do the trade show? Let me know in the chat what I should do. Should I do it from noon till 3? Well, it's going to be noon till 4. Or should I do it from 11 a.m. till 4? Personally, I would prefer to do it from noon till 4, just in case like we have the 1 hour kind of like before 1 o'clock to just break anything down that might have happened already. If something really major pops tonight, obviously we'll do it a little bit earlier. Raptors man saying BI left the Pels bench at halftime. What's good, man? Go on the panel. Well, it's too late now. I already rejected it. But yes, so I won't be on the panel tomorrow or Friday. I'm gonna do our own thing. I told Rod, I'm like, yo, like last year, our trade show had like, I don't think over 10,000 views. I think like we made like $300-400 in super chats and e-transfers. I'm not passing that up. So I mean, I can't pass that up financially. It's just a stupid decision for me. Plus, it's not like I'm gonna be able to talk about the Raptors on the panel and just redirect y'all there. So sucks to not be on the panel tomorrow, but that's what it is. Okay, In terms of team stats, overall, I mean, this was just, it was bad. Okay. It was just really bad. You do win the possession battle, but largely it's because they get to the line twice as much as you do. They crush you on the offensive glass, 24-14. That's largely due to the fact that they were just outsizing you. The defensive rebounds are obviously going to be in their advantage because you missed the ball so many times. So really, the overall rebounding, 61-34, is just that's something that just really sticks out to you. Like, holy shit, right? Like, this is a game where you needed Scotty Barnes. Like, if you're gonna make this a 7 or 8 point game, this is the type of game where you needed Scotty Barnes to be like 28, 12, and 10. Like, you needed that from him just to make this an 8 point game, and you didn't get that from him. Overall turnovers, you did turn them over a lot, so congratulations on that front. Okay, let's take a look at the film session here. Okay. I mean, I'm curious to see what will happen with the Raptors. It is worth noting the Jimmy Butler news did break midway through this game. We'll definitely talk about that and perhaps a whole bunch of other things as well. I am okay. Here we go. All right. Okay. So I was very impressed with Jakob Poeltl. I think he was a huge part of why the Raptors started out the way that they did. But look at this, Jakob Poeltl here ripping the ball from Zach Edey. I mean, do you see how chiseled this dude is? Do you see how strong he is? This is he is a clay sculpture at this point. Look at this. That's beautiful, man. Just getting out of that little double team there and finding a way, against that, being patient. There's this thing that they say with young players, when will the game slow down? This is an example of the game slowing down, right? You have a 7-footer in there. You have some help. Look at how connected this Grizzlies team is defensively. Look at how many layers you have to work through just to get one good shot. Look at how many eyes are on him. They rotated everything perfectly. And here Grady takes that second step and floats this over 2 guys. That was good. Santi Aldama is a pretty decent shot blocker too. Overall, this is a brilliant play by Jamal Shead. Again, the rookies came out and they competed. Boom. Step gather. Nice play by Jamal Shead. 5 seconds off the clock. I mean, look, Jonathan Mobo hit multiple threes tonight. He didn't hit a single three in college, in his entire college career. That's progression. That's progression. That's a player who's developing some confidence. And it's really nice to see sometimes when a player does something in the G League that they're not really comfortable with at the NBA level. And what did Jacoby say yesterday during the post game? It's like, I just want to see the ball go through the hoop. Like, I'm just seeing the ball go through the hoop. Well, Jonathan Mobo saw the ball go through a hoop a lot during this G League stint. And here, Scotty is perfectly capable because everything Scotty does is reacting to what the defense is doing, which is how smart basketball players play basketball. Here, you see that they're not worried about Jonathan Mobo. This was a very well coached and very well scouted team tonight. They are willing to put Jaren Jackson Jr. and Zach Edey to stop the Scotty Barnes drive. So Scotty says, all right, bet. I'm going to just find my buddy for a 3. They don't guard it, and he makes it. And trust me, they're not going to guard that shot for the next 2 years. So you're going to have that shot if you're Jonathan Mobo until you can prove that you can hit that shot. See, they don't care. Like, the minute Luke Kennard found that it was Jonathan Mobo, he's like, all right, hot shooter, corner. And here it was rookie to rookie to rookie, right? First, Jamal Shead, paint touch, paint to great. That's what the Vin Bhavnani says. And then boom, the process, right? It's perfect. Now, imagine how much more effective this would be if Jonathan Mobo was actually being guarded as a shooter, right? That's the gap. That's why it's so hard to sustain any form of competent offense when you have a non-shooter on the court. Okay. What is Scotty going to do here? Right? Look at the help, man. Look at the layers of defense that you got to work through here. Do y'all remember what he does here? He's trying to force GG Jackson to get off of, he's trying to force one of two to get off of either force the defense to sink so you can sink it out to Grady, or force GG Jackson to move center so he can find Jakob Poeltl, and here's going to find Jakob Poeltl. Little pump fake, clock going down. He makes it. Not a lot of people can stay with Jaren Jackson Jr. like this and then block him. He's a very strong player. Boom. With his left hand. Love it. That was good, man. That was a good example of really good defense. No, Kyle Anderson is not coming to Toronto, but somebody else might be. All right. This is some good Scotty Barnes moments. First, scoring on Jaren Jackson Jr. here. Then, next up, kind of the same thing, right? Very similar. Just a slightly different result. That is not an easy shot. That is a very difficult shot. And when you actually put some spacing around him, look at where the defense is, how committed they are to the middle right now to shut down this drive here. This is not easy. I don't know how much y'all know about basketball, but this is a hard shot. This is a really hard shot. Off the move, off the dribble, to do this consistently is hard. Now, what about when he's not scoring from these positions? Well, look at this. Rip Ja Morant. Jacoby gathers, sent it to Scotty, and probably the most exciting play of the night, how quickly he processes this and how softly he puts it up for Grady to do this. That was a sweet play. Quick transition defense to offense. The Raptors were still very much in this game during these plays. Very soon after, basically the minute the Jonas Valanciunas deal broke, they were not in this game anymore. Now, I really slow this down just to show you how difficult what you're asking him to do is, given his current skill level, right? Now you can say, why doesn't he have those skills, Rob? Well, that's not who he is. That's not who he is. Okay? Like right now, that's not who he is. That's not who you drafted. You drafted a guy who was being compared to Draymond Green. You want him to be what, prime Michael Jordan? That shit is not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a work in process. Like it's going to be a work in progress. And he's Kenneth Lau saying Brandon Ingram is now bench and no longer playing in the game. Cool. Yeah, he is probably on the move to Atlanta or Toronto, according to the results or according to the reports. So we'll see what happens. But right now, we're trying to talk about Scotty Barnes here. Although, you know, it's funny. 90% of you couldn't care one shit about what I'm saying about this game right now because you're so concerned with the trade deadline. And yet you don't have really very much empathy for a team not really caring about this game and being locked into the trade deadline. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Okay. Look at the help. And look at the options. What do you want to do here? Where's the advantage? Where are you going to... You got Bruce Brown, not a good shooter. Davion Mitchell, not a good shooter. Jonathan Mobo, a complete non-shooter. Ochai Baji, the one good shooter. You've got 2-on-3 on the other side of the court because you're willing to commit 2 former defensive player of the years to stopping this one guy. Do you have any idea? Like, I would love as a simulation to see Ja Morant on in a lineup with Ochai Baji plus Jonathan Mobo, Bruce Brown, and Davion Mitchell. I would love to see it. I would love to see it. He would do much more with it than Scotty, for sure. Nobody has ever argued that Scotty Barnes is a more dynamic scorer than Ja Morant. And if you have, you're stupid. He's not. But he's working to it. Like, he's working to get there. Like, he will get there. He has a unique path to get there. It's not there yet. What did Scotty's trainer say last year? I think he said this is 10%. 10%, 15%, 5%. What did he say? 5%? Like, I forget now. My memory is like been really bad the last couple of days as I haven't been sleeping very much. But it was a very little amount, right? Did he, chat, let me know. Did he say 15%? I think he said 15%. So, I mean, you could say he's gassing it a little bit, but I don't think he is. I see Tetrahedron saying he said 10%. Why do I feel like there was a 5 in there? I feel like he said he was 15%, but nevertheless, no, it was 15%. Yeah, Carbon Chunks, 15%. So, I mean, okay. So let's say right now we're at 45%. That doesn't mean he's done. 45%, there's still 55% to go. There's a long process to go. He's going to have to figure out counters to counters to counters. Okay. Michael Jordan had to go through it. Kobe Bryant had to go through it. Every great player has had to develop counters. Very few players in the league have ever come in like Luca Doncic with like an entire bag of tricks. Okay. This is a work in progress. Okay. And at some point, he's going to see this defense for the third or fourth time with a different skill set, and he's going to be able to do something more with it. He's going to have different teammates, and he's going to be able to do something more with it. We've seen Scotty Barnes do good stuff against good teams before. Don't act like this is a guy who's stat padding against, the Charlottes of the world. Those are the games that he rarely ever dials up for. He's gone up against some of the best teams in the league, but you got to give him some pieces. You got to give him some pieces. Again, this is hard. This is hard. Okay. There's not a lot of lift right now. Seems like a little bit of discomfort on whether or not he's going to fall on someone's foot or something. Anyways, these are a pair of good dimes. So this is what Scotty did well. I commented to my girlfriend that I think that Scotty's doing his best Draymond impression in this game. This is his best Draymond impression, right? This is a perfect Draymond pass, right? And here, again, takes two defenders, fully commits. They don't guard. They're not going to guard him. Facts. Okay. I mean, it's so crazy to me that people talk about Brandon Ingram like he's Michael Jordan and talk about Scotty Barnes like he's chopped liver, and they are separated by 2 points per game. Scotty actually shoots better from two than Brandon Ingram does. What are y'all talking about? In fact, Scotty's current 2-point percentage before these last two games, so last two games have been really, really bad for him in terms of his percentages. They're about as high as any year of Brandon Ingram's career. Like, he's just not making his three right now. I don't think y'all realize, like, he's 1 for 12 from three over the last two games. That's going to make all of these problems worse. Not being able to shoot from three is going to compound all of your offensive issues right now. So your ankle is bothering you, but you're not being guarded as a 3-point shooter right now. Nice play. Scottie Pippen Jr. just kind of falls asleep there. Nice play. Now, I slowed this down super for you guys, just so you can see the defense that the Grizzlies are playing on Scotty Barnes. Okay. Really, after his ascension as a mid-range scorer, teams are basically like, we're not going to allow you to score. Okay. Especially when you have this limited help and there's no RJ and no Immanuel Quickley is not playing that well or that many minutes, and he's on a second night of a back-to-back and he's out for load management. We're not going to let you score. We're going to do everything to shut you down. And it's funny because, yeah, Giannis did not go 4 for 18 against the Raptors, right? Some are low saying BI is still a better isolation player. Sure, yeah. Brandon Ingram is a better isolation player. But if Brandon Ingram was shooting 26% from three, I don't think Brandon Ingram would have the space to operate as an isolations player. That's what I'm talking about. Brandon Ingram is shooting like 37% from three. I think he shoots about 34, 35% on his career. Not great. But if it was terrible, it would be worse. That's kind of my point. Looking for glimmers of hope. Toronto's youngsters keep fighting. I deliberately left a score out of this. They were down, I want to say 30. They were down bad. And this is an image. Please caption this image. Give me a word for this image. Go ahead. What's the word? Tough. Sad. Nervous, disgusted, sadness. exciting. Okay. Despondent. Yeah, that's the right word. Despondent. Chosen saying cooked. Reality. Defeated. Dejected. Distracted. I think Odin Prime might be right. This is a team that's mined to somewhere else. I don't know if y'all ever played. Like, to me, when I play chess, like, I don't play sports anymore. So I'm 37 years old. I don't play sports anymore. Sometimes I haven't played competitive sports in like 15 years. Not rec, not intramural, not really like competitive. So it's been a while since I've really played competitive sports. But I could tell you that there was like a day where I was worried that my girl and I were going to break up, and that game was a little bit weird. There are games like this, and I feel like a lot of people who haven't played competitive sports really don't understand how locked in you have to be, how focused you have to be to play well. You make mistakes. You're kind of somewhere else, right? It happens. It really does happen. And I think the Raptors had one of those hangover games today. Now let's talk about what's going on with the Raptors and Jimmy Butler trade and all that stuff, because I realize that's what y'all want to talk about. Now, something big broke. I'm going to say not big, but something, which is that this happened. Domantas Sabonis and Jonas Valanciunas will be teaming up in Sacramento, which means 2/5 of the Sacramento Kings starting lineup will be We the North members, Jonas Valanciunas and DeMar DeRozan. So Debo is running the shots in Sacramento. Or, I don't know, maybe, Monty McNair went to the team and said, how do you guys feel about Jonas Valanciunas and Zach LaVine? And DeMar DeRozan's like, hold my beer. Hold my beer. I know those guys. I play with those guys. DeMar's had a lot of success with Jonas Valanciunas. Never underestimate the familiarity. Jonas has changed his game a lot. Obviously, it's been a long time, but that familiarity helps with chemistry. Zach LaVine and Jonas Valanciunas going to Sacramento could be a really big thing. They have lacked size at the center spot for a long time. They've really struggled to put that piece around. And maybe they could be a Cinderella story, or it could all blow up in their faces. So there's also the connection between Jonas Valanciunas and Domantas Sabonis, guys who've, known each other for what feels like over 2 decades. And yeah, it's probably like a really nice feeling for Jonas Valanciunas. He's probably going to feel very inspired. He's been toiling away in Washington, so I'm really happy for Jonas Valanciunas, man. I'm happy for that guy. I always root for Jonas Valanciunas. I generally root for ex-Raptors, unless that ex-Raptor is this guy. I don't like this guy. Dennis Schroeder is going to Utah. Okay, so just to anyone who wants to recap this, Dennis Schroeder has made a lot of funny news in the past years because of how many teams he's been on. And Dennis Schroeder started last season on the Raptors. He was dealt midway through that season to the Nets. This season, he finally plays really well for the Nets, gets that group connected and playing well. And the Nets say, you know what, buddy? Too much winning. And they throw him to Golden State, where he is then considered the solution. They park away 3 second-round picks for said Dennis Schroeder in order to give him a trial. Now they dump him onto Utah. And oh, by the way, for an hour, we thought he was going to Miami. So it's just like every single time he thinks things are good, things get worse. He did make a lot of noise over the last couple of days comparing the trade deadline to slavery, modern slavery. Look, man, he got a lot of flack for that, but I understand his perspective. I know a lot of people are saying, like, fuck you, you make millions of dollars, whatever. But from his perspective, as a guy who has been just pushed around from team to team, but you know what? This is my message to Dennis Schroeder. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's you, man. Maybe it's you. I felt it the second he got to Toronto. I'm like, I don't like this guy. He rubs me the wrong way. And, every single time I saw him on the Raptors show, there was a little bit of vomit that I had to hold back. He just kind of speaks with an air of arrogance and condescension, which I'm like, damn, pot calling the kettle black. Certainly have, similarities there. But yeah, I've never really felt like Like he's looking for his forever home, man. He's like that puppy that just keeps like going like from foster home to foster home, you know? Like how many teams has this dude played on? How many teams, man? It's crazy. It's really crazy. Add one more. So Golden State doesn't work out in Golden State. It's like unless he's playing the role he wants to play, you're not going to get a positive contribution out of Dennis Schroeder. Clearly, it didn't work in Golden State. Golden State ends up trading Dennis Schroeder. Not only Dennis Schroeder, they end up trading what is likely Kyle Anderson. They also trade away Andrew Wiggins and a first round pick, a protected first round pick. And I don't know how I feel about this deal because I think the Golden State Warriors messed up. But let's take a look at what the deal is, or what is the deal here. But Sharms, shit, man, that was from yesterday. Okay, so let's take a look. Shams making a lot of news, including the Raptors in that deal, but they are not. Shit, all the We the North guys are getting traded tonight. Jonas Valanciunas gets traded. DeLon Wright gets traded. So the Bucks are sending DeLon Wright and cash to the Knicks for Sims. So Jericho Sims on the move to Milwaukee. Okay, cool. I guess we also got to react to that Kyle Kuzma deal. Interesting. Okay. Miami is keeping Kyle Anderson now. Sources said so. Wiggins, Tucker, and Anderson are in Miami alongside Warriors protected first round pick. Okay, cool. So initially it was reported that he was going to Toronto. Then it was reported that he was going to Detroit. Now he is staying put in Miami. Okay. So these deals, until they're processed, they can still be fluid. They can still change. It's not usual, but it does happen. If the Raptors pulled out of this deal, it tells you that something of some consequence was coming back to the Raptors for doing this. Now, if the Raptors had actually taken on Kyle Anderson, I wouldn't have been upset about it. I happen to be a really big Kyle Anderson fan. He's a really smart basketball player. Darko's really familiar with him. He's been familiar with him for years when he was coaching him in Memphis. He's a pretty productive defensive player. Honestly, Kyle Anderson, you could do a lot worse than Kyle Anderson. So Buddy Terrifico saying, I get paid $200 Canadian a month to teach here in Bolivia, and I have to clean the school for free. And Dennis thinks he's a slave for getting $10 million to play basketball. So I understand what you're saying, and I understand what the league is saying, but everyone stares out of their own backyard or stares out of their own window. I'm sure that if you were to ever complain, there would be someone in a worse off situation than you saying, well, at least you get $200, right? I'm sure if I complain about my life, someone would be like, well, someone makes less. Look, you know what I mean? I've learned to understand that you can have empathy for everybody because everyone has empathy for themselves, or, you know what I mean? Like, everyone's situation feels unique to them, right? Dennis Schroeder is looking around saying, I had a home, I have to move my family. I mean, look, Dennis Schroeder might look at your situation and say, buddy, you're making less money, but at least you haven't moved your family 4 times. He has a young child. You know what I mean? Like you have to embrace this with empathy. I kind of hate the nature of the internet right now, where every single thing is like very flaming. What am I trying to say here? Everything's very hot takey and very poorly thought out. So you want to say that Bradley Beal is fucking up the Suns, but he just doesn't want to move his family. And you say, well, you're paying $50 million. And it's like, but his family doesn't give a shit about that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't just get to take away, like if you got $50 million or you make $50 million a year and your spouse gets cancer, I'm sorry. That shit still hurts. Okay? If your kid knows that their dad is an NBA player, but they've established roots in that school and in that city, and they have a favorite place they like to go, and they have a best friend, and you let them know in the middle of the night, hey, by the way, we're going to fucking Utah. Yeah, that shit sucks. And your kid does not process that. And you looking at your kid saying, my job is forcing me to move from this place to this place to this place 3 different times. You might think that's a really adventurous and fun thing, but that's not that fun for that kid. And if you give a shit about your kids and give a shit about your family, being in an NBA can put a lot of strain on your life. And because you're dealing with your life on a day-to-day basis, not the life of Buddy Terrifico or, some people on the internet, the money just doesn't really even phase you anymore. You've been making millions of dollars every single year your whole life. It really, the last 15 years. At this point, you just want stability, which is why sometimes we do see people put in no trade clauses or, take veteran minimums and yeah, like even take like bloated contracts so they're not as easy to move. Like people just want stability. I mean, once people start families, they want stability. And there's nothing evolved or cool about saying Dennis Schroeder is spoiled brat or, so and so spoiled brat. Because when you look at somebody else's pocketbook to measure their heart or their pain, you really are missing the plot. You want me to not have empathy for a multimillionaire? Fine. I'll say the next time your player demands a trade, and you're like salty that your franchise is getting shafted, I'm going to ask you to not have empathy for a multi-billion-dollar organization. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like we need to be a little bit more sensible with our basketball shit. Okay, this ain't 2K chosen. Well said. Okay. What the hell? What the hell? Oh my God. Okay. The Chicago Bulls and Lonzo Ball have agreed to a 2-year, $20 million extension, sources tell ESPN. So I guess Lonzo Ball ain't on the move. So several trade suitors emerged for Lonzo Ball in recent days, but he and the Bulls have now reached a deal that keeps him in Chicago through 26-27. After 2 years away from the game, Ball has made a successful, productive return. Nice. That's a pretty good deal for Lonzo Ball, I would say. To break down this and to also break down there's a call-in link. If anyone wants to call in, talk about trades, talk about Brandon Ingram, talk about Chris Middleton, talk about Kyle Kuzma, talk about Jimmy Butler, we are open for the next 25 to 30 minutes, unless something really breaks while we're on. I don't want this to be one of those droning 2-hour, 3-hour type of lives. I got a lot of shit to do. And I also gotta I gotta prepare for tomorrow's live, which means I got a lot of work ahead of me tonight. But if someone wants to call in and have a great conversation about what's been going on with the team, what's going forward, the draft, any of those conversations, the link is in the description. And I'm going to post it again here for everyone so you have it handy. Also, big shout out to Okan and everybody who called in yesterday. I got to tell you, after these lives, what I do is I go through and I listen to them, and I have to put the timestamp. So I usually listen to them like on 2 times, fast forward, scrolling through. And I just found that I had such an appreciation for the callers yesterday. So thank you to the people who called, people I agreed with, people I didn't agree with, whatever. It was great. It was a great variety of callers. Okay, we got Simon calling in. Simon, what's up, man? You're muted.
Hello?
Hey, what's up?
I'm just trying to make sense of this Luca trade. I don't get it. What did the Mavs get? Like, I tried not to go conspiracy rabbit hole, but I'm open to hearing a case why it's not according to the script, so to speak.
What do you mean according to the script?
It's the Lakers. They're the crown jewel of the NBA. They get the player that they want and the headlines with LeBron and Luca playing together.
So you think Adam Silver made a call to Nico Harrison and said, "Yo, I need my boy in LA."
I don't know.
Ratings are down.
Well, ratings are down. They're down 49%. But I don't get what the Mavs could get out of this. And if it's not tinfoil hat theories, then what? The Mavs should definitely sue the GM for this. This is like malpractice. The Mavs GM for making the trade.
Are you a fan of the panel? Do you see me on the panel? Are you one of the people who follow me on both platforms? Or are you just here?
I'm just here.
Okay, cool. So yeah, today, I mean, I thoroughly, cooked on this Luca thing. I said it was one of the, if not the most lopsided deal in NBA history. That it's stupid. That frankly, Luca is going to make a lot of people look really dumb. And yeah, that's where we're at with that. And obviously, like I made a video about this a few days ago saying, that I think Luca is going to be very motivated and that he is going to be punishing the Mavericks for the next 50 years on this. In terms of why Dallas did it, I mean, bad ownership. They've been, I don't know if you know this, but let me list out the names that Dallas has let go, okay? And those players have thrived elsewhere. Jason Kidd, 1995. He was an all-star. He was a former second overall pick. He was considered one of the best young point guards in the NBA. They let him go to Phoenix. Not for a lot because he didn't get along with the coach. Then they obviously let go of Steve Nash, right? That's another one. Went on to also Phoenix and then won MVPs there. I mean, it's worth noting that Jason Kidd, if you're in, I don't know how long you've been following the NBA, but Jason Kidd ended up leading the Nets to 2 back-to-back finals in the early 2000s. That's who they lost. And ultimately, it was that same Jason Kidd who came home and won them the championship in 2011. Then they lost Jalen Brunson because they didn't want to pay him. They thought that was a wise move. They're like, no, Jalen Brunson, we can replace that, only to go and watch Jalen Brunson become a star in New York. And now they believe they don't want to pay Luca Doncic. Is it possible that this ownership group, now preceded by a previous ownership group, is just stupid? Is it possible that Dallas is just a really dumbass franchise? When I started watching the NBA, Dallas was a joke of a franchise, and they remain a joke of a franchise, regardless of the fact that they went to the finals. So that's where I'm at right now. They think Luka's out of shape. They think Luka's, going to age poorly. They think Luka's, hard to build around. They think Luka Ball doesn't work, all that stuff. Maybe they think Anthony Davis is better than he actually is. Maybe it's partially because Nico Harrison is a Nike guy and he's just kind of, compiling his Nike guys. I think there's a weird thing that happens with some general managers where they stop. You can see the types of general managers who think in the past, and there's general managers who think in the future, and then there's general managers who think in the present. And I really do like the people who can do all three, because there is a place to think about the past, the present, and the future at different times. I feel like Nico Harrison is stuck in the past. I think this is a move that he's wanted to make. I think this is a pairing between Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving that he's wanted to see probably for 10 years. And I think he wanted to make it happen one way or another. And he didn't care that he was going to gut a franchise. They've been firing a lot of Luka's people. They've been trading away Luka's people for years. They've been pissing him off for years. It's also worth noting that Luka did go through a really, really, really tough legal battle with his mom in 2023.
I didn't know that.
Which, you didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, so Luka's parents are divorced. His mom is a model. His dad is a Serbian ex-basketball player named Sasha Doncic, and he's a Slovenian Serbian. So I'm familiar with Sasha, and so basically you'll notice like Sasha was very absent from Luka's draft stuff. Like it was all his mom, and the first few years of Luka was all his mom everywhere. Then he ended up in a legal battle against his mom, and over the last couple of years, you've seen his dad reemerge in his life. He's going through a really, really tough time emotionally off the court and stuff too. So if his weight gain, or maybe he's a little disinterested, when I say people need to have a little bit of empathy for, athletes, being in a legal battle against your own mother who raised you is a really tough situation. So I can't wait to see Luka, make everyone look really stupid. I think it's the dumbest trade in NBA history. I think it's really stupid. And, as much as I would love to cry conspiracy, and I really do want to say, I think Nico Harrison is that dumb.
Well, is there the only trade I could think of that lopsided would be back in the mid 2000s when Vince got traded to the Nets. That's like the only thing I could think of off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
Or Alonzo Mourning that didn't even come to Toronto. Two guys called Williams. I can't even remember their style of play anymore.
Okay.
And yeah, that's if you do you have any other trades that are that lopsided?
Well, we'll see how this one's going. Brandon Ingram might be Toronto Raptor bound, so we're gonna stop talking about Luka right now, and we're gonna focus all of our attention onto Brandon Ingram. Okay, I'm gonna actually bring. Do you have anything else to add?
No, just hopefully that pen dance goes well.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Cheers, man. Okay, Chris Haynes is breaking that the New Orleans Pelicans are in advanced discussions to trade Brandon Ingram to the Toronto Raptors. League sources tell me. How do I feel about this? I feel fine about this, depending on what's going out. If Grady is involved in this deal, I'm going to be so fucking pissed. But Brandon Ingram is a significant offensive piece to put next to a Scotty Barnes. I mean, this is a guy who's been an all-star. This is a real talented player. He wants a lot of money. Hold on. Is this the real Chris Haynes? Yeah, this is Chris Haynes, bro. Chris Haynes wouldn't lie. Chris Haynes is really plugged into this shit. So we'll see. Why are you saying fake? It's not fake. This is real. This is the real him. Wait a second. Is it? Am I getting deep faked? What the hell is going on here? No, I'm following him. No, this is real. What? No, it's not fake. Okay. Let's bring on Patty Mahomes and Josh. What's up, man? What's up, guys?
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
What's going on, guys?
What's up, Patty Mahomes? Got next. What's up?
BI's a Raptor. My thoughts right now is whatever you got to do to help Scotty, man. Like, he's on a slump right now, and you don't want him to, like, I know the season's not even close to being ending, but, like, what is he, 23 years old, man? Like, you don't want him to go through this, man. Like, he's human at the end of the day. I don't know, you've been talking about it. Like, you don't want him to, like, have this slump. At the same time, I do think the Raptors should tank. Like, getting a top 5 pick in this draft is very, very, like, huge for the future. Like, can you imagine the Raptors, like, even if they end up, let's say, the 5th pick, which would be obviously great. Like, could you imagine VJ Edgecombe, Scotty, and BI, and Jacoby Walters? Like, man, like, you could change this instantly. And then let's say you get a vet like Tim Hardaway is a free agent after this year, Malik Beasley. You get one of those two. Like, you see the Pistons, like Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway. These guys nobody wanted these guys, and they flipped their team. Like, it's not that hard to contend in the East, you know. Like, the Raptors are trying to lose. I'm sorry, they're trying to lose, and they could easily, like, they're like, what, 5 games out of the 10th spot? I'm not sure. But,
sure.
yeah,
okay,
I got
cool.
no problem with this deal, but go ahead.
Cool. Josh, what's up?
I mean, I was originally going to ask, what are the chances you think it goes through? I guess it's looking pretty good. How much do you think it really moves the needle, though, if it does go through?
I think, okay, so the New Orleans Pelicans are finalizing a deal. According to Kevin Bradford, I don't know who this is, but okay, let's see here. Chris Boucher, Bruce Brown, and draft capital per sources. Now, if it is in fact Bruce Brown, Chris Boucher, and draft capital, I'm assuming it's probably going to be 2026 Raptors protected or Indiana protected. If it's multiple firsts, I'm going to snap. It better not be multiple firsts. Now, initially, we all thought that this was going to be RJ Barrett, right? So if I'm the Toronto Raptors, I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, like, can you rehab his value? I feel like Brandon Ingram would be the most talented player the Raptors have acquired in a very, very long time. Like, he is a real, legit talent. And oh, by the way, he's younger than Devin Booker. I don't think people realize how young BI is. He's drawn comparisons to guys like Kevin Durant, and it's because aesthetically the game is right there. I wonder if we just want to think about this in terms of development. Let's say that Brandon Ingram isn't fully cooked yet. What if Darko Rajakovic can take him to the next level? Now, you've taken RJ to the next level. You've taken IQ to the next level. We tried to take IQ to the next level. You're trying to take Scotty to the next level. What about taking Brandon Ingram to the next level? What the hell does that look like? You know what I mean? I think the Raptors are justifiably excited about the prospect of Brandon Ingram. I think the injuries scare me. The money scares me. Those are the two things that scare me. I wouldn't trade multiple firsts for this. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I wouldn't trade multiple firsts.
It's not going to be multiple firsts.
I would consider one first, but I would definitely not consider multiple firsts. If we give up multiple firsts, it'd be the most Raptors-y thing to do ever.
Would you rather the Indiana pick or the Raptors pick protected for next year?
I would rather trade the Raptors pick.
Didn't you say that there's a chance Indiana might fall off? I heard you talking about that. I don't know, was it here or the
It's
panel?
Miles Turner. Miles Turner's situation is not certain. Tyrese Halliburton had 0 points yesterday. I don't trust that team. Super. That pick is top 4 protected, right? If we trade a pick, I would want it to be lottery protected for 2 years. And then I would want it to be like top 5 protected for 2 more years. The problem with that is obviously that it's always hanging over your head, but I don't want top 5, top 6 protected type of shit, you know? I want it to be lottery protected. Now, my guess would be it'll probably be a couple of seconds and a first so they can save face that, hey, we traded this super talented player and look, we got 3 picks back. But yeah, it's, you know, the pick stuff is really funny because a lot of these picks are very misleading. You know, the Utah Jazz getting 2 second-round picks, and it's like, look at the second-round picks. They're really bad. Or the Zach LaVine trade, and it was like 3 first-round picks. And it's just like, it's a lottery-protected first-round pick from the Hornets, who are in the lottery 100%, and it turns into 2 seconds. So you really got 4 seconds and 2 firsts. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I think, yeah, like if the Raptors view Brandon Ingram as a comparable talent to Pascal Siakam, that's a little bit closer to Scotty's age, so he can be more on Scotty's timeline. I get that, but the injury history is what skews this. If Brandon Ingram didn't have an injury history, sure, give up multiple firsts. I'm perfectly comfortable with that. I know what talent he is. Also, funny enough, I have paired Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes on NBA 2K for like 7 years. It's the funniest shit ever. To watch
Ingram is also an underrated passer.
He is a very underrated passer. He's a very underrated isolation scorer. I mean, I don't want to say underrated. He is a very justifiably, you know, celebrated isolation scorer. He's the type of guy who can get a bucket in a close game. And I think Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes is a real pairing of like talents. Like when we say lottery talents, I feel like some people just don't understand like the gap between like a real lottery talent, like a real one, you know, and then the kind of makeshift guy who can score 20. Like Brandon Ingram is like a real lottery talent. Like a real one.
Do you see him as someone that will keep, I mean, hopefully if we win a chip eventually, do you think we'll keep him to that point or eventually move on from him?
Oh my God. If this actually happened, bro. Okay.
Yo.
Hold on. Oh, there we go. If it's 2 seconds, I am officially in heaven. Hang on. Y'all better not be. Damn it. Did I get faked out? Kenneth Lau, who will never lie, Shams on X, Brown, Boucher in 2 second rounds for Brandon Ingram. Why am I not?
Shams didn't tweet. I would have gotten a notification. But I did see in the chat they were saying Brown, Boucher in 2 seconds. So it may be true, but it may take some time to come out.
So who the hell said it?
Like the chat, earlier, like the chat, like a bunch of them are spamming it. I don't know if it's true or not. But Chris Haynes hasn't said anything. Nobody's really said anything yet.
I'm not seeing anything on anywhere about this.
Okay. If anybody else wants to call in, just drop in the link right there. We got 456 people in here. I guess our trade deadline is happening a little bit early. We will still do a trade deadline show. If the deal breaks while we're alive right now, that's pretty cool because I feel like a lot of channels probably already went to sleep. So finally it pays off to be a night owl and do these extended long lives. But yeah, we'll monitor this and see if something breaks. Let's see here. People on Reddit are saying RJ. I don't know about that. I don't know if the Raptors will trade RJ. What's your thoughts, man?
I mean,
BI is shooting 37% for 3 on like 6 attempts. That's pretty good for his size.
And they can make it better. They can make it better.
I just don't know how this would work. I don't know how I feel about it long term.
What scares you long term?
The contract 100%. Like, are you willing
Well,
to get him?
you don't know his contract yet. So you would have to, like, here's the thing. Like, the Raptors kind of scare me with them signing new contracts. Now, obviously, with Scotty's extension kicking in, plus Brandon Ingram's extension kicking in, like, plus Immanuel Quickley's 32 million. I mean, yeah.
For me, it's not even the contract like fully, it's a part of it, but it's also about like what does this really do for us if our goal is to win a championship?
Mm-hmm.
Next year will be a lot better for sure. But I don't think we're going to be contending.
40, 45 player. Like, I don't care about the contract. The main thing is health. Like, I think he's going to perform, especially like in Toronto around Scotty. Like, he's a number 2. He, like, I think he'll be fine. Just the health to me.
Yeah, Hoshu saying you think Ingram would stay in Toronto. Don't ask me how I know, but Brandon Ingram likes Toronto. He really likes Toronto. You have to make this deal, period. Chosen saying you have to make this deal, period. I mean, you don't have to make this deal at all, but if it is 2 seconds, Bruce Brown and Chris Boucher, then yeah, shit. Like, take the chance. You're getting a very, very talented player. Does someone have their speakers on? I'm hearing myself feedback.
That might be me. Let me mute and see.
Okay.
Did that fix it?
I don't know. I'll let you know if I hear it again. But yeah. So we are trying to follow both. I mean, I'm sure.
Is he healthy to play or like?
I mean, he will be soon. Resident One saying he's versatile defensively. I mean, yeah. Carvin Chung saying he is seeking a $50 million a year max extension. Yeesh. Okay. Yeah. So at $50 million, this is insane, and the Raptors would be really, really stupid to sign that deal. With his overall trajectory as a player right now, it really could go either way. But you're basically trading for Pascal Siakam back. Like, he's very Siakam-esque. I think his bag is a little bit deeper than Siakam's. Like, overall, like, his ball skills, to me at least, basically feel better. His defense might be a little bit worse than Siakam's, although lately Siakam's been a really ass defender. I wonder if the Raptors know through the grapevine, understanding his people, understanding his camp, if they've talked to them, if they have some idea about, just how they could use him off of Scotty, right? Now, this is like the type of thing where if you sign him to a $50 million contract and it doesn't work out and he gets injured, this is Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal level crazy, right? And you already got Immanuel Quickley, who's not looking like, he's a really super positive asset right now. So you really don't want to be in a situation where you're signing him for $50 million. So if he wants $50 million, I say no to this deal.
I do think his value is low. Like, he doesn't have a lot of leverage. Like, he's not going to be like, yo, if you guys don't give me 5 years, $50 million a year, I'm going to go somewhere else. Because, I mean, someone else could have traded for him. I do think the Raptors trading for him, they have an idea. Like, they wouldn't just do this just to like, hey, let's just take the chance. I think he likes Toronto as well, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd be down 3 year, 150. 4+ I can't. I'm down for 3 years. I think 3 years is fine.
Yeah, sources, Toronto would send Bruce Brown Jr. to New Orleans. If that's it, if the Raptors get Bruce Brown for Brandon Ingram on a trial run, I think that would be just fantastic. Now, they can't completely do that legally, but I mean, I could venture into the trade machine and see if there's some sort of deal that could work centered on how I would look at Bruce Brown for Brandon Ingram. Okay, hang on one second. If anything breaks, y'all just spam the chat and let me know. Also, Okay. Also, Medved with a super chat here. Appreciate you as always. No, they are not stupid. They're evil. They want to threaten moving Mavs to Las Vegas. If people of Texas don't legalize gambling, follow the money. Appreciate you. Saw that comment also that you put on the panel. Appreciate you, and definitely Zigsaw Puzzle. Welcome back. What's up?
Wait, my sound's not working. Give me a second.
Sorry, I wasn't hearing anything either. My headphones were disconnected. So if anyone said anything, I would be. Brown Yak for Misi and Ingram, please, saying Ryan. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Cersei Cat saying trade exemption.
If we get Ingram, do you see us making other moves still?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I could. I mean, this is why the Raptors, I believe, like, okay, so I went on this entire rant about how the Raptors would look to explore, Devin Booker. But I think this is exactly that type of move, right? I mean, BI is a year younger than Devin Booker. He's not as good as Devin Booker, and he has a huge injury history. But he's 6'9". He is a versatile and very big forward. And I think when Raptor fans see him, like when they see him playing, I feel like I don't know how many people actually watch Brandon Ingram play basketball. Next to a Scotty Barnes, I think you're going to see like a very different BI. I think he's a very good player. It's difficult to find players on that 27 that have that kind of all-star potential, all-star trajectory, whatever. But again, his injury history is scary. But let's just take a look at what a deal could look like. Jigsaw Puzzle, for whatever reason, you're not coming up. So I'm not sure if you dropped out or something like that. But let's try to pull together a Pelicans and Raptors deal right now. Okay, so Brandon Ingram is at a 1-year expiring $36 million contract. If we do it just for Bruce Brown, the Raptors would extend into the luxury tax, which they're definitely not doing. I'm pretty sure they're also going to go into the hard cap. They can't do this deal. So that is not going to happen for a lot of reasons, because we're hard capped at the first apron. We cannot go above it, and we're not going to luxury tax. So there has to be something else to balance this out. And it has to be something that makes sense for them. So it can't be too much salary. Now, if it is Chris Boucher, now they're not really saving a ton of money. And I believe their situation is such that, okay, let's see. What's the dead weight on their books that we would have to take off for this? They don't really have any dead weight on their books other than CJ McCollum. So let me propose something to you that like probably would never happen, but would you do it situation? Would you do this? RJ, Bruce Brown, and Chris Boucher for CJ
Okay,
and
SGA
Brandon.
stat line.
What?
SGA stat line is ridiculous.
Does he have like 75 points or something?
He has 46 on plus 38, plus minus.
Okay, cool. Nice. And Utah is about to beat Golden State. Oh, please, Lord, let it happen. Please, Lord, let it happen. I really want that to happen. Let's see here. Okay, Jigsaw Puzzle, you're back.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Great game, I think. I was talking to you on DMs. The first half was really very close. It was very interesting. I was saying like we were on pace of holding it to 110, and they have the best offensive rating in the league, so it was very impressive. But then the third quarter happened, so it is what it is. No one could stop Jaren Jackson. It was insane. He just got open. He got wherever he wanted. But I like that game overall because we had no one. Let's be real. I mean, by no one, I mean we had 3 of our starters, on the injury report. So it's hard to go against Scotty in this loss ever because of how little help he had.
Right. I got you.
But for this trade, I asked like a few days ago. I don't know how I feel about it. I think because he's been on the Pelicans for 5 years now, I think, or more.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was like he wasn't very good because of being next to Zion and CJ McCollum. They haven't thrived as a core, so that's why I thought he wasn't very good. But I think like as a offensive machine, like he's very productive. I don't know
Mhm.
how he's gonna be on the defensive end. That's what my concern is.
What, Brandon Ingram?
Yeah,
I think he's fine defensively. I mean, if you're looking for him to be a stopper, that's not going to happen, but
what about a help defender? Nope.
it's pretty versatile. Toronto has been very adamant on wanting to keep their draft capital, which is likely where discussions have revolved around these last few hours. Okay, that's nice. I'm glad that we're trying to keep our picks, which kind of rules out multiple firsts. Patty, can you mute yourself when you're not talking? We get a lot of interference from you. Okay, sorry, the chat is asking. The framework of a Brandon Ingram deal being
I was
discussed.
muted. That wasn't me.
I think someone has background noise, and earlier I think it was you. But yeah, but now it's fine. Anyways, the framework of the Brandon Ingram trade being discussed early this evening revolved around Bruce Brown, Chris Boucher, and a first-round pick. Unknown if there were protections attached. Unprotected first, I would snap. Okay, and did the Utah Jazz just win? Oh my goodness. Yo, there's so much going on in the NBA world right now. It's almost like giving you a headache, right? Like Detroit nearly came back beating Cleveland. I don't know if y'all watched I'm sure you didn't watch the San Antonio Atlanta game, De'Aaron Fox's debut. I
Yeah,
mean,
like 13 assists. Yeah.
That was amazing.
I mean, he had 18 points in the first half, and they were up huge, and then Atlanta almost came back, and then Wemby hits the free throws. I was like, damn, and he splits them. Yikes. Who's saying Jazz winning equals music to my ears? Well, it won't be music for long if you trade for Brandon Ingram. I mean, if Brandon
Isn't
Ingram,
he injured?
yes, he is injured, but for how long is he injured?
So that's the next thing then. How do you see this affecting the tank? Where do you think we end up?
If he's injured, I mean, we're tanking still, right?
Yeah. So let's see here. Considering the star forward is yet to be cleared for contact, remains without a concrete timetable for return to game action. Ingram can be viewed as week to week. Okay, so that's according to RotoWire. He is week to week right now. So, I mean, it sort of works out.
Shams posted.
Shams posted?
Yeah.
What did he post?
Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, and 1 first-round pick and 1 second-rounder.
Oh, go to hell.
Yeah, I see it too.
I don't
You still
mind
don't
that
know-
too much.
Maybe
Yeah.
there's gonna be a third team involved, or no? Not at all.
Well, he is a hell of a talent. I'm not sure which second rounder and which first rounder. That will be a really, really big deal in this. But if you got a first and a second for Brandon Ingram, that's yikes. Two-Tone saying, super chat salute to the 500 plus people in here and to the people who are, coming in. I wish I could change this live to be called Brandon Ingram to Toronto so that people know what's up.
Do you want
I
to
don't
make a
think-
second separate live?
Should I make a separate live?
Might be a good idea, I think, to split the thing. Or because shorter videos is like more views. I don't know how I think that's how I see it. Like, shorter live, that's like 2 hours and, I don't know, 4 hours. That's going to be more views for you. So it depends on what you want.
Yeah, that's true.
Otherwise,
If
you
you're
could
done talking about the
you
game,
could do
why
timestamps
not?
otherwise after the live.
Right. Certainly. I could look into that. Okay, let's see here. So yeah, let's get this going. We got 522 people in here. I'm gonna start a new live in 15 minutes. So right at the crack of midnight, and it's gonna be a Brandon Ingram live. I gotta work on the graphic for it and everything. I just feel like a lot of people are gonna want to watch this tomorrow. They're gonna be like Brandon Ingram to Toronto, and unfortunately, that's not gonna be it. So y'all lock in, subscribe so you don't miss it. It's coming up in 15 minutes, 17 minutes, midnight. We're going live on Brandon Ingram to Toronto. All right.
I see a lot.
All right, man. See you, man. Thanks you all for calling in. And Two-Tone, how does BI compare to Siakam in your opinion? Just getting here. Honestly, man, he's younger, which helps. He's more talented, in my opinion, just as a raw talent. I feel like that helps. But the injury history is very scary, and his defense is just a little bit worse. I feel like he's a much more talented player, though. That's my view on it. He's been injured a lot throughout his career, so I feel like he doesn't have a lot of miles on his career. So that will be a very important part of that. But I don't want to just speak off the cuff. We'll take a look at the numbers. We'll take a look at everything. But we'll keep you covered until 2 a.m., 3 a.m., or whenever all the news breaks through. But yes, I will be live just shortly after midnight with this. All right. Thank you all for calling in, man. Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you, Rob.
See ya.
Cheers.